This is brilliant,
So
man. I mean, like, it's so nice to understand where your passions come from. But obviously, coming to Alderney, do we have a unique? I mean, I would know we've got a very unique wildlife here.
mm,
But what is it that you would say about Alderney that's so unique compared to the rest of the world?
okay. There's a couple of things. So I'd start with like the physical side of it. So physical, like geography, etc. We're located in an interesting place. So we're located almost between two ecological regions. So you've got that northern area with the UK, and then you've got the European area. So we get a lot of species that you get in both. So things like ormers. There you go.
Oh, what's this?
Ormer
This
shell.
this
You'll
is a
know it.
shell found on the beach. Was this?
Yeah, that I think that was probably clonk. That one.
Wowzers!
So you'll see though there's a small yellow tag on it with a number. So
Ah, yeah. Okay, so an Orma is this is a European or a UK?
it's called a green ormer. And Alderney is pretty much as far north as they go. You don't really find them in the UK at all.
Wow,
So they're a real, we're about as far north as they get. Probably like Channel Islands specialty, of course, as well.
incredible.
Um,
Okay, so this is obviously an invertebrate.
yep, yep. It's a mollusk. It's a gastropod, so like a snail. It's basically like a big snail.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, so can you eat these?
People do. I have not. Um,
We'll get on to that
yeah.
in a later part of the episode. Okay, so you've got the wildlife that comes from the south of the
Yeah,
island and
so
more the
there's
European
things like
region.
there's things like ormers. Also, we obviously have lots of kinds of fish like gilthead bream, etc., which are now pushing into our waters because of warming sea temperatures. We then have northerly species which they might not get further south. So I mean, some examples of that. There's a particular type of bird called a pied wagtail, right? You'll see them everywhere. And in England, they're pied wagtails, and in Europe, they're white wagtails. And pied wagtails are those black and white wagtails, right? Wagtails are birds with their tails, and they go like that.
Oh,
It's
I've seen
pretty
them. Yeah,
distinctive.
yeah, yeah.
You'll see them on the beaches all the time here. We get both. So we get that northern species coming down. We get the pied wagtail, which has a black back, and then we get the southern variant, which is the same species, but it's almost like a different, you know, group within it.
Oh my
And
God.
it comes up from the north, and we'll get them both
Wow.
mixing on Alderney, and
That's
you'll
so
see them all
difficult
on the
because
beaches together.
how do you know which one's which?
Well,
They
yeah,
must look exactly
yeah.
the same.
Well, they the difference between them is, and you can do this. This is like quite an easy one for people to do themselves. Is if you look at a pied wagtail, that black and white bird, it's got a black back. The white wagtail looks exactly the same, but its back is grey. So it's
Okay.
once you get your eye on, it's quite an obvious distinction. Some of these things, it's blooming not, and it's a
Yeah,
nightmare.
yeah,
But
yeah.
with those it is, thankfully.
Did it take you a while when you first got here? Because 2021, that was what, 4 or 5 years ago.
Mm.
It was like the first few weeks, just sort of you walking around being like, bloody hell, like it's that one. No, it's that one. You walking around with your book or your iPhone, probably just sort of
Yeah.
checking
Android,
out.
please.
Yeah, yeah.
No, there's definitely some things are a learning curve, but
Crash
at the
course.
same time, there's a lot of similarities. I I suppose I did a lot of my training in Wales, and that's different again. We've got species that we don't even see on the south coast in Wales, and every habitat is going to be different. A lot of species are similar though, so especially our seabirds are species which you get in the UK. So gannets, puffins, fulmar, those are three of our kind of most iconic seabirds. So gannets, obviously the big white seabirds, black wingtips, they're huge.
They're great.
Yeah. Gannets are actually the largest breeding seabird in the northern hemisphere.
Oh wow,
They got a 2 meter wingspan,
that's
so
crazy
that's
because
bigger than me.
I've just realised you don't really ever see gannets on Alderney though, do you? You don't. You
No,
never
no,
see them down the harbour trying to get your fish and chips.
no,
Like
no.
they're all on Gannet Rock, which is such an amazing attraction, really, because you
Mm.
always want to take someone to Gannet Rock, but you stand back and you see them. It's quite far away, isn't it? Like,
It's about 300 meters offshore.
is it
Yeah,
really? Wow.
yeah,
Okay, it looks closer.
yeah. I
But
mean, so that is something. You asked what's unique about Alderney's wildlife. That is something really unique. There's not many places in the world where you can be that close to a seabird colony like that. And there's a couple of sites with them on the mainland on cliffs, but really only a couple. That is really special.
it's like
Most
a
most
viewing
gannet
platform as
colonies,
well.
yeah, most gannet colonies are miles offshore. Miles and
Wow.
miles and miles. You can only access them with boats that can go a
And so you
long
say
way.
these things are big, like because I've been on the boat with you and I've seen them, semi close up. But when they're in front of you, are they really?
Yeah, so they got a 2 meter wingspan, so that's way bigger than this table
Oh my
that's in front of us.
lord!
When you see them, so sometimes we might rescue them, like if they're a bit injured or whatever. When you see them in a cage, it's like a dog. Like it's absurd. They are big beasts,
Wow.
really big animals, and they're not actually so like you comparing them to seagulls, right? And they kind of look like a seagull, but like you said, they never come on and sell chips. They're completely different, like ecologically. Okay, so they're what we call plunge divers. So what that means is they're an active hunter, unlike a gull, which usually is a scavenger. The gannets, they're an active hunter, so they're the cheetah compared to
Mm,
the
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 dive bomber.
hyenas or whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, literally.
So what they do is they'll fly about 60 meters up in the air, and they'll come down. They'll dive down. They'll hit the water up to about 60 miles an hour. So I'm that absurdly fast, right? Absurdly fast.
Wow.
Head first, they'll skewer fish on the way down, or they'll come back up and they'll skewer them on the way up.
Like a kebab, just
Yeah, straight down the middle, and then they'll eat them. They'll actually go into their stomachs. They'll then fly back to the colony to feed the chick.
so they'll regurgitate it once back at the colony.
Yeah.
That's crazy because I mean, how the hell do they spot fish in the sea?
So they do have polarized lenses on their eyes. So that obviously helps. But one other thing is often they'll work in tandem with marine predators. So things like dolphins, which will force a bait ball to the surface. And it's something actually. So our gannets are some of the furthest foraging, right, in the world. They're foraging on average around 200 miles, or at least 200. A long distance, right? In fact, the furthest one we had went to Norway and back, which is 3,000 kilometers.
Wow, what was in Norway?
Evidently some good herring,
some good herring. I love that.
But that's a long way.
Yeah.
And you remember I said they eat the fish. They go into their stomachs. They don't have like a kind of storage area. That means that the fish will digest. So if it's got to fly back further, there's less nutrients for the chick by the time it gets back. So that's a problem. And part of that reason is that the fish have been pushed further north by changing climates. But something, I mean, we saw it the other day. We saw some tuna hunting, right? And they were forcing groups of bait fish. Can't tell exactly what they were. They could have been anything, herring, mackerel, whatever. They were forcing groups of bait fish to the surface, and you had, a couple of hundred, maybe up to 500 gulls, and you had hundreds of gannets feeding there. And that's something that's been missing from our seas until recently, mostly because of overfishing by humans in the past. But it's positive to see that coming back, and it's that linked ecology. We can't just think of those gannets as one thing on their own and they'll go out and they'll be fine. They've got to have that system that's built around them with the marine predators there as well to force the prey fish to the surface to then be able to predate it. And it's not like, the other thing to think about is, it's not like, say, when we hunt for fish and we saw a trawler out there at the same time. We saw a super trawler at the same time.
They're not good, are they?
Yeah. And so when a trawler takes fish, it comes out of the ocean, it goes into supermarkets, goes to Iceland or whatever as fish fingers. We eat it, goes into a sewage plant, and eventually it comes out purified, whatever. It's waste. You're not getting any positives out of that. When a gannet eats fish, or when a tuna eats a fish, it eats that, it digests it, it then excretes it into the marine environment, and plankton feed on that. Plankton feed on that. Baby fish will feed on that. The bigger fish will feed on that, and it's a cycle, and then you get more bait fish again. So it's all part of that natural process.
Well, are we the only animal in the world that does this terrible sort of? I mean, I don't know, how do you explain it? Like it's like a waste of ourselves. I don't know. It's weird because you're absolutely right. We're making things all the time that we then just put in a landfill. No other animal does that, right?
Well, I'm sure if they don't, I'm sure if a fox was capable of making loads of clothes and doing that, it would. I don't agree. There's that thing like, oh, humans are. What's it in the Matrix? You were saying you watched the Matrix earlier. He says humanity's a virus. It's the only animal that will use all the resources up. No other animal will do that. It's a load of rubbish. If a fox had a chance to use all the resources up, of course it would.
They'd do it.
Yeah, they would. But they have evolved to be in that natural environment. Humans evolved in probably sub-Saharan Africa. We've moved out of that area, and we've embraced technology,
Yeah,
and that's given us these kind of unusual advantages, doesn't mean we can't
Mm.
operate in a way that doesn't impact the environment, or rather, that allows the environmental systems to still function. And I think
Mm.
that's important to remember. It's not all doom and gloom. We can change things.